Wow. Goodness me. Goodness me. My dude.
What's up, man?
How is it going, my dudes?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. That is an epic trailer
It
once
always
again
is.
to
Always
kick us
is.
off. And to kick us off right now, guys, welcome to episode number 2. Episode number 2
Number
of the
2.
Rhody and Snek show. Today we're going to be talking about an awful lot of
Oh,
Battlefield
yes.
2042 content.
Gotta
And
love stuff.
Rhody, I just want to say one thing just before we get started here. I think I
Yes,
figured out
sir.
why my connection was really bad the last time.
Why is that?
I think it's because I'm streaming and I'm also uploading my camera to you at the same time. I think that's why it's causing the issue. So, for anyone watching,
Oh, what
if
do you
we
think for
do
internet?
have
For internet
delays,
issue?
yeah, it's because I'm using so much bandwidth that it just doesn't know where
Yeah.
to throw it to. So,
It's a good.
we'll try and
I hope they
we'll
get your
try and get
internet
that
fixed
sorted.
fast.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we need to. But this is going to be a super long show today.
A lot of
Obviously,
stuff.
yeah, and ideally we want to kind of stick to an hour long. But this is episode number 2 of the Rhody and Snek show. I mean, a lot has happened in the time that we've had the first episode. I've had a 24-hour stream. You've done 20 plus hours with myself the other week.
Yes.
The
That was
Battlefield
insane.
celebration went great,
Yeah.
and we now have our own Battlefield 4 server
Yeah.
dedicated
Battlefield
to the
4
show.
community server. Yeah.
And what happened the first night when we
The
got in?
first night, yeah, within 24 hours, not even 24 hours, it was
Mm-hmm.
full with a queue of 10 people, which was
Absolutely.
really insane. I was really hyped
Yeah.
for that. That was awesome. That
So
was
if you
great.
guys aren't aware, we have our own Discord now. So
Yes.
you'll see the Nightbot notifications go around in my chat over the next couple of
Same here.
minutes or so. So if you want to check that out, feel free to pop up any of the links that do come up on screen, and you can go check those out. But yeah, for anyone who's watching, if you are having problems and there's a delay once again, I apologize. You might want to keep an eye on Rhody's stream as well, just to show some support, and that should keep you up to date. But yeah, with all that aside, we're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
start off here with a huge topic that's cropped up again in the community this week that I think a lot of us have been wanting to find more information about since its
Yeah.
initial reveal, and that is the movement system
Yeah.
that we're going to be seeing in the new game. So, do you want to run us through what we had in BF5 and what you liked most about the movement system?
Well, in BF5, I think everyone knows, and I think the big part of the movement system everyone I hope so likes because I enjoy it is the sliding. I think that was the first thing that it was revealed that there was going to be sliding, just like in Modern Warfare and Black Ops. And to be honest with you, I really like it, and I don't want them to remove it. And the movement system in BF5 was extremely smooth. I think everyone really liked that quite a bit. I don't know
Yeah,
about you.
absolutely. I think if there's one thing that BF5 did extremely well and what the devs did very well on
Yeah.
was the movement system within the game. There were a couple of annoying things that really bugged me about the game,
Hmm.
and besides attrition and
Yeah.
obviously the way that the movement system would kind of hamper you sometimes, where you try and climb over a little rock and it would throw you backwards, which was really annoying. But hopefully,
100%.
and the pebbles, yeah, the pebbles is the main thing. If they can sort that out, then that is the best movement system we've had in any of the games
Oh yeah, for
so
sure.
far.
Most enjoyable, I think, as well.
And I think the good thing to note here as well is the information that came out on Twitter was that the movement system is also being worked on by the same engineers that worked on BF5s.
Yes.
So I think it's pretty much safe to say that.
Yeah. For my chat, I just changed scenes to the tweet confirming this information that the same developers are going to be working on it. Oh yes. That's a big one. I did.
there was a small element of sliding, and we saw that when you got grappled up onto the crane and
Yeah.
pulled towards the enemy. But it looked more how can I say it? Beefier, a bit more
Yeah.
nerfed. Nothing too
Yeah.
OP, nothing that's gonna cause you to be able to avoid too many shots by
Hmm.
other enemies close by. So I think it's probably just going to be just about right. But we'll have to wait and see what we get in the EA Play in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. I think that's going to reveal pretty much all of our questions on the movement system that isn't already released.
Absolutely, yeah. That we'll have much more on the movement system once we get
Yeah.
all the other further
Hmm.
details confirmed at EA Play in a couple of weeks. There's probably more than likely going to be an extended episode once again when we get to that because there's going to be so much
Oh
to go
yes.
through. We'll just have to wait and
Wait,
see.
what day is
Um,
EA Play during the
EA
week?
Play is 22nd of
The
July.
22nd. Do you know what day of the week that is?
That should
That
be.
is just a random question, just for my own knowledge at the moment.
It's a Thursday.
So the 23rd will be our
Hmm.
Rhody and, that's perfect.
Yeah, I'm
So the
pretty sure it'll
23rd is
be.
going to be a very big, thorough Rhody and Snek show on
Hmm.
Battlefield 2042.
Absolutely, and
That's
that's
going to be a
great
big one.
because my actual day off is on the Thursday as well,
Really?
so I actually have a load of time to go through that stuff. Yeah,
That's good.
100%.
That's good.
But yeah, anyone who's coming into the chat, Sticks, Nabs, welcome in, guys.
Yep.
Thank you
Cakes,
very much for being here.
sticks.
Hello.
For everyone else that's just lurking, watching the stream, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we have a couple of key questions that need to be kind of answered when it comes to the movement system, and I'll go through those one by one. Uh, to obviously avoid it being too imbalanced, I think we need to see a limited tack sprint, nothing that's unlimited, where you can't just continually run forever like a literal super soldier.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to see. Emphasis on realism this time around, in particular. So I don't think we're going to see anything more than that.
There is a chance that they won't focus on that though, because
Mm.
it seems like with BF5 they focused on that, and
Yep.
their feedback was very poor. So I don't know if they're
Right.
gonna divert back to how BF4 was, that just simple sandbox battlefield, or if they're still gonna try to incorporate that realism that they wanted to start incorporating into the battlefield when they released Battlefield 5.
Yeah, I think the shining example we have is BF4, but in terms of the movement system,
Yeah.
BF5 you amalgamate those two together,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
we have the Battlefield Game of Dreams. That's
Yep.
Battlefield back, in my opinion. If we cross
Yep.
those two, if
Yep.
BF4 was to have a baby, it should be BF 2042. You know,
Yeah.
hopefully, when it comes to that. So
I think everyone's
in terms
expecting
of the
that.
fluidity of the movement system, though, I
Mm-hmm.
think we're looking at potentially the recon having the better of the movement systems. If they're
Yes.
going to change anything and make it slightly more fluid, then maybe
Mm-hmm.
they'll restrict it to the recon, perhaps, just by nature of what the recon specialist can do.
Yeah.
Something I think we're going to see. What about jump sliding? Like you and I have both played BF4 quite regularly over the past couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, where you
You
jump.
see
Yeah.
the Zuzu
The
jump
dive.
everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How
um,
frustrating is that?
it's frustrating, but I can't say I don't use it myself. So it
No,
does. It does
I'm
get you out of a lot of sticky situations.
absolutely. I find the movement system at the time obviously was second to none for most shooters, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very clunky compared to what we see today. And I
Yeah.
have seen a lot of people through the servers that we've been in,
Yeah.
getting a little bit annoyed at
Yeah.
the movement
Especially
system.
in
The
BF4,
new
especially
players.
when you get revived and you're trying to stand
Yeah.
up, and it takes you ages to stand up.
Hmm.
Because I think that's my biggest complaint with BF4 is when I get revived, I'm laying down, I want to get into cover.
Hmm.
It's just it takes forever for you to stand up.
Yeah, Sticks has made an important point there because he found that very interesting about potentially having different movement speed and sprint mechanics per specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's just a case of if you're using an LMG, you're going to get weighed down more than what you would if you're using an SMG with a recon, perhaps,
Yeah.
or even an AR. Maybe you get
Mm-hmm.
slightly better movement, so that might influence who goes forward what and who
I
goes to what
think
position on the map.
I think that's what COD does well is that
Hmm.
their weapons, their
Hmm.
movement to what type of weapon you're using is very
Yeah.
accurate. If you're using an LMG, you're going to be slower. If you're using a assault rifle with
Hmm.
no stock on it, you're obviously going to
Yeah.
move faster than one with one. SMGs, you move faster, so on and so forth. And I think COD does that well, and hopefully we can see something like that in Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, and I think if they get it right, they could definitely implement it correctly in BF
Yeah.
2042 over something like COD, where it will be
Mm-hmm.
more influential in Battlefield compared to what it would be in Call of Duty. So interesting comparison, interesting thought. But we'll get more on that hopefully when we get to EA Play next month.
Yeah,
We'll
that
see an
will
awful
answer a
lot.
lot of questions for sure.
100% movement is
Yep.
definitely going to be one of the top things that the new game is going to introduce or address compared to
I'm
what we've had in
also
previously.
hoping when it
Yeah.
gets to that point that they also announce the beta or when we get to
Oh
play it
yeah,
so we can give you our feedback personally on what we think. I think that's
yeah,
very important.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more when it comes to that. So I think what we're going to do here is moving on, with the related topic when it comes to movement.
Yeah.
We're going to go over the confirmed specialists now.
Oh yes.
Do you want
Those
to go through this real quick?
yes, I will. Currently we have 5 confirmed specialists that they have released s- some information on, some more than others. And and it kind of explains to us how they may work. I know when we were the last episode 1 when we talked about specialists, we didn't know any information on how that was going to work. This does clear up, I would say, 50% of a lot of our questions. It doesn't completely answer them, but I think it makes more questions, but it also clears up a lot. But I'm gonna start off with what I've seen from watching not only Twitter, seeing Twitter posts, but watching other YouTubers that have more of that connection to EA and to Dice, to where they can get that information more freely because they're more popular than us. But from what I've seen and researched, they have said that we have recon, support, engineer, and assault variants, and then the specialists branch off from those variants. And the way they're replacing it, again, is with specialists. You won't have these certain classes, but each specialist will be more geared for what the original 4-class system was. So, for example, we have a recon specialist. His name's Casper, and he has 2 gadgets. His 2 gadgets are drones and a movement sensor. The drone is for recon, so you can go recon points and spot out enemies, I'm assuming. And then you have a
Mhm.
movement sensor. And what I've read, it's very limited on what they've said about it. But my general understanding is of the movement sensor is that if you are running, the movement sensor is going to pick you up. But if you are crouch walking, it's not going to pick you up. So there is ways to counter the movement sensor. And I believe
Mhm.
it was like a 15-meter radius around you or something like that. It can sense you, and it can say, and it's going to say the distance away from Casper. So if you're playing as Casper, the recon specialist, and someone is running past you within like 15 to 20 meters, I'm assuming, it's going to pop up on probably like a tablet device of some sort.
Yeah, I think one of the big ones that I'm really really looking forward to is the grapple gun. We mentioned this in the first episode, and the grapple
Yes,
gun looks incredibly exciting.
I think we're
Um,
very hyped about that for
so
sure.
far, we've only seen one instance of that, but I'm really glad they showed it off in the reveal.
Yeah.
Primarily because it's, again, Battlefield's about movement, freedom of movement, the freedom to be able to do what you want to do within the game environment. So introducing another element of verticality in the game would be excellent. I think another one, the support class. This is a big one for a lot of you support players out there as well. This time around, rather than having a specific medic class with the support specialist,
Mm-hmm.
you've got the healing pistol
Yeah.
as the gadget, and you've got the combat surgeon as the specialist ability. So I covered this very briefly in the first episode, where potentially you're going to get a 100% revive
Yeah.
with the combat surgeon specialist. But if you are any other class, you're more than likely still going to be able to revive, but not at 100%. So
Yes.
having a medic specialist close by, it's going to be so difficult to ignore the fact that it's not called medic anymore.
Yep.
But by throwing it in the support kind of element, it literally is you are supporting
Mm,
your squad with
yep.
being a medic, aren't
So
you? So,
their version of a support class now is either a
mhm.
medic or of someone probably with what else would be something to support ammo maybe. Classes geared towards just completely supporting your squad will be under this support category. There might be individual categories where that's what I'm assuming. The way that they set it up when they talked about these individuals, these couple of specialists that we
Mhm.
have, they did talk about each one kind of branching off from the original four class system. So I'm assuming healing and supporting your team with ammo is going to be under that branch.
Yeah, they took what fans love most about the game
Yeah.
overall from that four class system, and tweaked it to the point where this is squad focused gameplay. How many
Yeah.
times have we got annoyed when people don't become, team players and squad mates?
Mm-hmm.
They have literally teed it up for everyone that loves Battlefield for what it is, with the squad play, with the all out warfare, etc. But also, I'm reluctant to say this again because the hardcore player base ultimately makes the game. Sorry for all you
Mm-hmm.
new players out there. But obviously, to welcome in new players and try to make it as welcoming as possible,
Mm-hmm.
they make it straightforward. Look, this is what this does, this is what that does. Please help your team, and this is the way to do it. As much
Yep.
as I would like to do away in some instances with the class system to a point where you make it exactly what you want. Um,
Yep.
I think
Kind of
it's
like
still going to be
COD.
a part of the game, and this is the new iteration of it. So we're not going to see this go away, and I'm
No.
perfectly happy, to be honest, with it not going away. I just wanted an evolution of the
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
excited for
class
it. I'm
system.
excited for it. But
Absolutely.
let's. I also want to, before we move on from this,
Hmm.
I want to go back to the grapple gun. The grapple
Hmm.
gun is going to be a part of a class. I'm assuming it's going to be assault. They didn't say what type it's going to be, but the grapple gun, the character for that, will also have an ability called nimble. They have not said anything else about it. They say that we're going to have to wait for more information at EA Play. So be sure that we're going to be going over these specialists again once we see more information at EA Play.
Yeah, 100%. We'll go through all the
Yeah.
confirmed info that we've got. And that nimble, just from trying to speculate on what that could be, the fact that the grapple gun showed us, being able to go from A to B very quickly, nimble could be the perk or something that I was briefly talking about when it comes to having different movement mechanics for
Yeah.
different specialists. It's quite possible. It could be some kind
Move
of like
faster.
overdrive
Yeah.
system. Yeah, where
Yeah.
you get to move a little bit faster.
For a
Maybe
short
it
period of
deploys
time.
to your entire squad, a bit like Finker does on Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
Um, it's quite possible. I think I got that right. I think it's Finker. I'm not too sure. I might have been lying. But still, I mean, it's a system that is key and core to
Yes.
what Battlefield is, and you need to have a movement system that is fit for purpose, especially when we're going to get an engine upgrade. It would
Oh,
be fascinating to see what they come up with. So, I think that's going to be the end of the specialist. Unless you've got anything else you want to
um,
add.
I do actually want to just add one more that I think is probably good to cover, and I think
Hmm.
Boris is a good one to
Mm.
cover. That's going to be an engineer specialist. But this one's really interesting, and this one I wanted to cover last because I think it's more or less important. But he can play sentry guns pretty much in any position to help you hold a point down,
Hmm.
which that's going to change the game if it's a sentry gun that shoots on its own, kind of like in
Yeah.
COD. That's going to change how the game is played to the point where if it's a close quarters map, they can just place it down watching, let's just say, an elevator or a
Hmm.
stairwell, and now you have to take out the sentry guns and take and kill the players. It's definitely going to change how the game is run
Yeah,
completely.
and I think what we saw from the gameplay reveal when they showed the turret very quickly, the sentry gun that was on there, it did look like it was automated. It'd be interesting to see if a player could get behind it, and if you could get behind it with any class, or whether you have to play as Boris to be able
Yeah.
to use it. That would be really interesting. The sentry gun itself is something we haven't seen before as like
Mm-mm.
a new mechanic within the game. Like you said, it's very, very much going to change up the way the game is played, especially for the larger conquest maps as well. It's going to allow you to
Yeah.
lock down those areas as you push forward into the next one. I think we're actually going to be speaking about conquest very briefly
Oh
going
yes.
forward with some new info that's
Hmm.
surfaced. So yeah, I definitely think the specialist system that's piqued my interest. It got my hype going a little bit more. We saw a little bit in reveal, but not much
Yeah.
off that. So that they're definitely keeping that on ice for us at
Hmm.
EA Play. They're going to make a huge deal about the specialist system and try to sell it to us because they're moving away from something that's tried and tested over
Yeah.
the years and just evolving those elements into the new game. So we'll see what they come up with, but I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to it.
100%.
Nice. Well, with that being said, when it comes to the specialists, obviously you can't have a squad without calling in some kind of vehicles or some kind of support system to be able to help you to push forward into the different points.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about something that is absolutely brand new. It's we've had a UI HUD before where you're calling in some kind of support system, whether it's vehicles, score streaks, but
Yeah.
this time around we've got a tablet to
Yep.
use. You've
It's a
got an
call-in
iPad.
tablet. An iPad.
Yeah. I mean, it was very brief. We saw it just there on the reveal trailer, just behind my screen there on my stream, where you're calling in a tank. Now,
Hmm.
we touched on this very briefly again in the first episode because there's not too much to go over. But in terms of a new element to the game, is it going to be restricted to one specialist? Is the squad leader going to have to call it in? Maybe,
Yeah. I'm
perhaps.
assuming so. That's how it's going to work. Squad leader is going to be the only one that has
Mm,
access to it. And this is going to bring a totally different way we're going to play Battlefield. Because if anyone, whoever plays Battlefield, if you're new, I'm going to just enlighten you. In Battlefield 5, you had the reinforcement system to where you can call in an airstrike, a V1 rocket, or you can call in a tank, but the tank would spawn at your main base. This new call in tablet will allow you to call in any vehicle anywhere on the playable map. So it will deploy that tank wherever your squad needs it. And this is something that I got from Westy. He said that right there, you're going to see a lot of people trying to drop tanks on you to kill you with it. He said Dice said that it can also be used as a troll thing.
Yeah, and I love the idea of that. The fact that we've
Yeah.
seen the rent-a-suck, or the fact that we've seen the quad getting sent over the edge of the skyscraper into the little bird. Expect some top
Yeah.
memes to come out of
Yeah.
this game. I would like them to create something, force the community to come up with something new. Like when Rent-a-Suck came around, when that happened at the time, I think everybody's minds were blown and it just blew up online when people first saw that. And now it becomes like commonplace, but it's still a very difficult
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And then
For
every
sure.
time you see it, even though you know what game it is, you'd be like, that's Battlefield
That
right
is
there.
Battlefield right away.
You can't do that in any other franchise game that's
Nope.
currently on the market right now. And that's partly what sells the game to the hardcore players. It's like, look,
Hmm.
if you can do this and I can create these kind of moments with my squad or for people to watch back later, then that's partly what sells the game to a lot of people. But I would definitely love to drop an Abrams on top of a
Yeah,
squad. I like,
Sticks
hey
just said in
guys.
my chat is thanks for the free tank. So if you
Yeah.
do miss, you're giving the enemy a free tank. Just remember that.
Absolutely. Thanks for the free tank. And, if you get it right, not only are you going to crush the squad there, but you're going to be like, hey, guys, get bowled out of the way coming through. We're going to get you out of here. And the calling tablet's going to offer a lot of different
Yeah.
opportunities for pushing certain objectives with different things. Now, in BF5, obviously, we saw the V1 rocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think they're going to put in some kind of ridiculous, maybe like Tomahawk strike or something in this new one?
I think
Perhaps
so. In the
there's going to be some big boom boom,
gameplay
right?
trailer, you can see huge explosions in some of the scenes in the gameplay trailer. So I'm assuming that you're going to get some type of ballistic missile, maybe, or like
Yeah.
cruise missile that you can call in on someone. Which that's
Well,
going to
we
be
did see
awesome.
that, didn't we? With we saw a ship as well that was firing off rockets
Oh yeah,
out in the ocean as well, calling
that can
those
be.
in, even if it was very brief. Okay, there's going to be something that you're going to be able to call in
Yeah.
that's going to require an awful lot of points and squad work to get to that. But hopefully, it's not something you can
And
just spam easily.
that can even create a theory of, does that bring back? Could they be hinting towards bringing back behemoths from Battlefield 1? Because the behemoth in BF1 was a destroyer or a battleship.
Yeah,
So that
it's
could be
it's
a theory,
possible.
but it's possible. But
I would
I
I
don't
would
think so.
expect them to introduce something that
I
is going to
really hope.
be
Stick
a
said
lot
he
of
hoped they.
explosions.
He really
I
hopes they
know,
don't do it.
and I think
I
this
don't think
time
so
around
as
the
well.
only difference we have is if that calling tablet is confirmed to be squad leader only, then you're
Yeah.
not going to see a massive spam of incoming rockets like you could
No.
with the V1.
And I'm
Um,
assuming you're gonna have to. Your squad's gonna have to acquire points from playing the objective as well, just like in BF5.
yeah, maybe they'll just increase the timer because in BF5 you could just seemingly get an awful lot of
Yeah.
V1 rockets. Even obviously that was still restricted to squad leader role.
Yeah.
There were endless amounts of them. So I'd like to see them up the score, considering there's now going to be more players on the server. Bump up the score, and let's have some fun with it. But that for me is all we have right now when it comes to
Calling
the calling
tablet.
tablet. I don't think you found anything else, have you,
No, that was it. It was
at the
very
time?
brief.
Okay,
I think all the content creators are waiting to get more information.
absolutely. And moving nicely on now into what is a very beefy and juicy part of this entire episode, and that's going to be the vehicles. So the vehicles themselves, this was something that Rhody picked out earlier this week.
Yeah.
So far we've confirmed the vehicles to have roles, but what does
Yeah.
this mean? Are we going to see a main tank gunner? Maybe someone on the main
Um.
gunner on the top?
Yes. From what I understood from doing my research on this was, if anyone's played Hell Let Loose, or I think Squad's the same way. If you've played Squad as well, you understand that there is a driver, there is a main tank. If we're just looking at a tank, you have a driver, you have a tank gunner, you have a tank commander, and if there's any other machine gun seat, it's got to be manned by another person. So the tanks is going to be a squad focused role. If your squad wants to solely run a tank, it's going to take a squad to run an entire tank. You can't just one man a tank no more. They've completely changed that.
Yeah, and I'd like to see that because your driver in real life is not going to be able to do everything without the
Exactly.
support in there. Whether it's to defend the tank from incoming
Yeah.
threats from
Mm-hmm.
like small arms fire from the outside, or whether it's
Exactly.
even getting the gun to reload. Because even in the modern day weapon systems that they have, I don't think there are many tanks out there that will do a lot of automation with just one person inside of it. You're
Yeah.
still required to, if the main gun jams, you're going to have to clear it out because it's not going to be able to do everything automatically. Even
Exactly.
warships, destroyers still do that. You've still got
Mm-hmm.
people loading the weapon systems
Oh yeah.
underneath
Yeah.
in case something goes wrong. So yeah, I would like them to bring this element into the fold and encourage again, if you want to be able to bring in the heavy fire
It's
and
got to be
bring the
squad
bear
play.
down on the enemies, you're going to have to do
Do it as a
squad
squad.
play.
Squad play.
Absolutely. And
They want us.
it looks like that.
I think that's the biggest selling point for Battlefield from even in its early days, is that it was more geared towards team and squad play. It isn't about the person with the best KD ratio. It's about who plays the objective. Someone that can go 5 and 50 can be at the top of the leaderboard when you have 102 and two deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very possible as long as you play the objective. They reward team players.
Yeah, and we see cakes and sticks do that quite often, especially when it comes to the medic side of
Yeah,
things.
the medic.
If you fulfill your role
Yep, you get
consistently
rewarded for it.
and you do your job, you do get handsomely rewarded for that.
Yes.
Um, so let's bring the ribbons back when it comes to
Yeah.
rewarding people. Let's actually see something tangible on the screen. If you blow up half a building and drop it on two squads, or you drop a bridge or something, whatever can be destroyed, just give us
Yes.
something that makes you want to change the terrain around you to
Yep.
assist your squad and ultimately come out on top.
Yep.
So I know we just went off in a little bit there, but that is the score based system and the ribbons and anything that says we've rewarded you for doing this action. Please, dice, bring it back.
Yep.
You got rid of it for BF5, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense why they got rid of that system, because it was really nice to see you get rewarded for things.
I think
Um,
they're
it
going back
makes you
to
want
their
to
old
play the
ways,
game.
though. So that's
Oh yeah,
exciting.
from everything we've seen so far, it's looking extremely promising. Do you want to go
Yeah.
through the first 11 vehicles so far
So
confirmed? Do you have any images at all? Because I don't
I do
personally
not
have any
have
images
any. I
for
don't
this.
have any
Oh,
images, but I do have to
okay.
give credit to a viewer in both of our streams, Practical Shadow
Mm-hmm.
Demon, that actually went through both trailers and completely dissected all of them to get this information. And as of right now, we have 11 confirmed vehicles that he went through, did his research on each and every one. He's got a lot of knowledge on military background and firearms and things of that nature. So he's very familiar with a lot of this stuff. Well, the first one we have is the MD-540 Nightbird helicopter. It's usually for small night operations for small squadrons. It's more of a stealth helicopter for low altitude. The second one is the LAT V4 hovercraft. It's an experimental craft used for all terrain. So in the reveal trailer or the gameplay trailer behind me, you will see scenes of this hovercraft going on ice in the desert, so on and so forth. So I'm assuming we're going to be able to see this on multiple maps, not just aquatic maps. I think we can both agree on that. The
I
second
think
one
so.
is what we were talking about is the maps have nearly doubled the size, don't you think? In most
Yeah,
cases.
in most
And
cases, yeah, you could say that.
we were all worried in the last episode on how will we go from one side of the map to the other. And especially when other squads are utilizing helicopters, tanks, and so on and so forth. It is confirmed that there is a Polaris four-wheeler, an M1 A5 Abrams tank. This is a main battle tank for the U.S. Army. So we will see that if you're playing
Mm-hmm.
on the U.S. Army side.
Yeah, you see those in the trailers,
We're
don't you?
also we also saw a AH-640 GX Apache War Chief helicopter. So
That's going to be badass to see those
yeah,
Hellfires go off. I'm looking
that's going to be
forward to that.
amazing. We also saw in the reveal trailer a British and Dutch design Apache helicopters. So
I
they
would
have
never have picked that up.
yeah, they have implemented British and Dutch design versions. And they have also added a MV-38 Condor or a V-22 Osprey helicopter. One of the two, he wasn't sure. But there's some background on this one. This one's probably going to be very squad focused. It has 9 seats in total in reality. 2 front seats, so your pilot and co-pilot. 4 seats for passengers, so you can transport a squad from A to B. And 3 minigun seats. So I'm thinking personally, you're going to have 1 front seat, more or less, I would think, in game for the to fly around, and the 3 gunners protecting the Osprey, picking up squad from squad, bringing it to location to help cap point to point. So that one's, I'm actually looking forward to playing with that when the game releases. And then we have the 3-wheeler taxi car that we saw in the reveal trailer.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be complete without a meme vehicle
Yeah.
now, would it, if it was
No,
Battlefield?
yeah, you need it. Yeah, you need a meme vehicle. I want to see the red tractor again, but
Oh, dude, I was just going to mention we had the red tractor in
yeah,
BF5 and in
yeah,
Firestorm. Excuse me, mate, coming through, you know. But when they all bailed into that taxi trying to get away from the tornado that was jumping
that's
down on
funny.
them, I couldn't believe when we saw that, man. Oh man, yeah.
So we also
Let's get a
have
meme vehicle.
dude, I can't wait to run people over with that. It's gonna be great. We also now have the Elon and the Panther jet.
Oh,
I don't really know what some of these are, so if someone wants to do their own research and know what these are, I recommend you do so. We also have the E6 JGR Recon, or real life, it's also known as the EBRC Jaeger. It's a French help me out because I'm not gonna be able to say it again. I'm just
French
gonna
reconnaissance combat vehicle equipped
reconnaissance.
with rockets.
Yes. I'm screwing up my words here, but it's
You
also it's an
think you could
APC.
again?
So just think of like a BTR, and that's pretty much what
Oh
you're getting with
God,
that. So there
those
is
damn
going to be
BTRs.
BTRs or LAVs. That's probably what it's going to look
Yeah.
like, somewhere along that line. So this does confirm that we're going to see multiple countries have their own vehicle layouts. So that can now the baseline for the game is just the U.S. and Russia, but the whole
Mm-hmm.
world goes into chaos.
Yep.
So it seems like each country may have absorbed the U.S. or Russia has absorbed other countries, and they're now
Mm-hmm.
using their military technology to
Mm-hmm.
assist them. So it's pretty interesting seeing all these different vehicles from different countries.
Absolutely. I think I'll add something to that as well. The fact that, I mean, big props to one of your viewers actually going out of his way
Yes,
to
this
kind of
was
pick up this information. But the
yeah,
great thing about this is it provides a fascinating insight into, obviously, we've got various like factions available
yeah,
within the game. But at the moment, only looking at the military technology, it could just be what you've said, that one of the two sides has amalgamated all the various military forces on the planet into their particular side. But it
hmm
could also mean that we could very well be seeing the British, maybe the
yeah,
Dutch,
the
actually
Dutch.
implemented into the game. I mean, at the moment, we only saw the Americans and the Russians,
Yeah,
because they told us there was only two superpowers
and
left.
we're gonna go into that in today's
But
episode.
yeah,
So
yeah, I'm looking forward to going further into that one as well. But at the moment, that is a nice plethora of vehicles to kind of go on just from the reveal trailer alone. Like, if
yeah,
you look at that as a list of the types of vehicles available, it offers something for everyone, including the meme vehicles in there, but also from being able to get from one side of the map to the other, to provide support, to carry troops, to carry almost anything really from A to B.
yeah,
Um, that is a nice list to go on, and hopefully
that
we'll get
is.
to see more gameplay of the insides of those vehicles um, come July 22nd. Now, speaking of EA
Yeah,
Play, there was a little bit of info that came out earlier for a bit of a teaser. There's a couple of fan-made stuff coming out, but also it suggested that about 40 minutes of EA Play will be dedicated to the next Battlefield, roughly. So,
I did see something that the next EA Play that they're gonna be
yeah.
on, and I saw what was it? I think Battlefield on Twitter has
Mm,
retweeted it, or on Instagram they reposted
hmm
it. That the first thing that they're gonna talk about is um big changes to FPS, first person shooters. And then I thought to myself, what first person shooters does EA have other than Battlefield? And I don't think they do have anything but Battlefield.
Well,
So they're
you've got
saying that this
Apex.
Apex,
And
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, in theory, they could have Titanfall if they've come up with something else.
Yeah.
And they were at one point working on a new bit of IP,
hmm
which was unannounced. But in terms of a unannounced project, unless Dice LA have quite literally gone their own way and are doing two projects at once, like they were rumored to announce at the time, and weren't going to work on Battlefield
We do
up
have
until they
information
pulled
on
all the
that as well.
studios in.
Yeah. So that's another thing we'll talk about
Yeah.
later on.
Absolutely. So there's a lot still to go through, but in terms of the
Yeah.
vehicles so far, that's an exciting list, and hopefully for you vehicle players out there, that'll get the taste buds
I'm
excited
excited.
a
I
little bit.
wanna I wanna have a squad running Abrams.
Please, can we have a squad in Abrams? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. So again, moving on when it comes to the vehicles. So so far we've had the vehicles, we've had the specialists, we've had potentially the different types of vehicles you can call in with your tablet this time around, and ultimately the one of the most important things we've covered, the movement system. But again, you can't be a soldier, right, without a
That
weapon.
rips off.
So when it comes to
Oh
weapons,
yes.
there were quite a few on show, and Rhody's friend, once again, I believe it's the
Yep.
same one, right?
Yep. Practical
Um,
Shadow Demon. Yep.
Practical Shadow Demon, who's also popped into my chat. So props to you, Practical Shadow Demon, if you do happen to be watching this now or later.
Yep. He
Thank
may
you
be
very
working,
much,
but
my dude, for going through all
yeah.
the weapons
Thank
that we
you.
saw in the reveal trailer. Because I mean,
I do have to say he has gone every single time he's been on break for work. He's dedicated his time on getting this information, and he's been
absolutely
very thorough. And this what he's done. We don't have the
Mhm.
time to do this,
No.
so it does help significantly because we both stream. He makes
Yep.
content for YouTube. I make
hmm
clips and stuff like that for Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that.
hmm
And I'm actually getting into YouTube myself
hmm
now. So we don't really have the time to go in depth, you know, doing what he did.
Absolutely.
So again, we
Now,
very much appreciate it.
I don't know whether you have Practical Shadow Demon socials, but I'm sure if you do, we can
Yeah,
link those down in the show notes on YouTube or wherever we
yeah,
end up reposting any of this content, because he's done a massive amount of work off his own back in his own time to get
for
us
the
to this
show.
where we are at in the episode for this week.
Yeah.
So Practical Shadow Demon, thank you very much. But we're now going to go through the individual weapons that were picked out. And Rhody, I believe you've done a little bit of extra work and got us some screenshots.
Yes,
If you want to
actually,
take that
I didn't do
away.
this again. The screenshots were all Practical Shadow Demon. So on his lunch break. So I'm gonna be switching to a different scene here, guys.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And here we go. This is our episode notes here because there's just so many images to go through. It would be crazy making them all image sources. So we're just gonna scroll through them here. As of right now, and of course, Snek, you can talk about some of these as we go.
Yeah, sure.
The SIG MCX was shown. He's, again, Practical Shadow Demon, knows a lot about firearms and military vehicles, so on and so forth. That is shown here on this image.
Mm-hmm.
We also have confirmed the AK-12 right here on this image.
One of my favorite guns from BF4. That one is an
That was good.
excellent all-around assault rifle.
It was the first one you got as well, right?
Absolutely,
The default.
yeah, it is.
It's very
I
good as
think
well.
it's going to be pretty much a favorite for people starting off.
Yeah.
I reckon that will be a starter assault rifle.
And then
this
here
time
we
around as
have
well.
a M5A3, and there's something here I actually want to point out to everyone. Actually, let me make this bigger so people can see what I'm talking about here. One moment, guys. I want to make sure this is big enough so you guys can see what I'm going to refer to here. You can see right here in the magazine well. It is a smaller magazine. It is a 10-round magazine. The reason why I do know this because I own an AR in real life, so I do know what the magazine sizes look like. But for weapon customization, we're very excited to see the plus system. And this gun shows something that I think is very interesting. This is an M5A3. I'm not exactly sure what this entails of what it is, but it looks to be either an assault rifle or a rifle or a DMR. But if you can look here on the magazine, it has a blue stripe on it. So I don't know if that suggests that we will have ammo types, armor piercing rounds, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Because they showed off that plus system, and I think they're quite proud of that. So
Yes.
will that be in the next game?
I think when it comes to the plus system and the rifles in there, that's a really good image that he's picked out actually, because that was emphasized quite heavily on the reveal trailer. At this part in the trailer, there was a lot of weapons that were very quickly scrolled through, and
Yeah.
having different ammo types for the different weapons within the game, I would love that element. Imagine
Yeah.
being able to do more damage to a vehicle with your own individual rifles. What if you could get armor piercing rounds
That'd be
for
crazy.
like a 50 cal rifle, being able to go through potentially like an LAV, or even to just like disable the turret, because you could do something similar with that in BF5
Yeah.
as well. Like if you had, I'm trying to think of the Boys AT, for example.
Yeah.
You didn't do much damage, but if you hit it in the right spot, you could potentially disable a turret or even an engine if you get into the certain parts of it. So
For
yeah,
sure.
if that's going to do more damage or if it's going to degrade armor over time, depending
Mm-hmm.
on how the armor system is going to work and the health regen system, then yeah, having different ammo types would be a great asset.
Yes, and I think that right there is gonna raise a lot of talking points in later episodes for the Rhody and Snek show. So keep that in
Absolutely.
mind.
Prepare
Keep that in
for
mind. That's very interesting to see.
full lowdown on the weapons once we get all the confirmed details when it comes to that, because there's going to be so much information to go through, and we're actually really, really excited just to get more info now when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
All right, we're gonna be moving on to the DSR sniper rifle. It's a bullpup. Even this image brings up a lot of cool customizational options.
Yeah.
If you look at the tip of the barrel here, we see a large sniper suppressor. So that continues on with the weapon customization that we're going to be having. And the question is, with the plus system, will you be able to take suppressors on and off? Because as everyone knows, when you have a weapon, a gun in any game, you take the suppressor off, you have increased range and
Bullet velocity.
accuracy. Yeah, bullet velocity, and when you put it
Yeah.
on, you lose some of that. So will you be able to take it on and off to change how your gun performs for certain scenarios?
Absolutely. I think once again, this is another excellent gun to point out when it comes to the plus system, and I think it's going to affect one key element. Um, it'll change up the way gunplay works. So hopefully,
Yeah,
like you said, the guns this time around will have specific attributes that if you were to add a suppressor, you're going to have reduced bullet velocity, but you're going to have increased sound suppression, so you're going to stay hidden on the minimap because this time around, if you shoot without a suppressor, finally they brought it back. You didn't
yeah,
have this in BF5, you were just constantly visible. Um, if you shoot with an unsuppressed rifle, you are going to be very, very visible on the radar. So if you want to be sneaky beaky and have the option to have a recon specialist, then having that suppressor has to come with pros and cons, and it has to
very true.
ultimately be
Yes.
very well balanced, because if the recon specialist is as good as it looks to be in terms of what it adds to different squad play elements, you're going to have to make sure that it's well balanced. Otherwise, people are going to just exploit it. Um,
Yep.
and
It's
I
true.
don't doubt that there are going to be issues on launch at some kind. Hopefully, it's
Oh
not
yes.
critical, but there's definitely going to be occasional balancing. So hopefully, when we get to reveal, plus when we get to EA Play, as well as obviously the beta, as well, that
Yep.
we get some good feedback on that, and the community does decide what they want to see.
Yep. And I actually slightly just want to go off topic here just for a
Mm,
second because now that
yeah,
I'm looking at this image, this character here that you see his face right there for everyone
yeah.
watching my stream. He has night vision on. I don't
Mm.
know why I never picked that up, but maybe we'll see night vision in the upcoming days and maybe in EA Play there.
Yeah,
There's gonna be night maps,
it could be. Yeah, I
but
mean, if you look at it, there are some very dark
yeah,
areas of certain maps we've seen so far.
yeah,
We could even see some kind of heads-up display. Maybe it's not just going
oh
to be
yeah,
the tablet that you could be using for, but
hmm
also if you like part of the recon
hmm
specialist, maybe you're going to be able to kind of see different areas of the battlefield map. Maybe he's
yeah,
even a squad leader,
maybe
and you've got
yeah,
like a tac map of some kind that you can
oh
bring
yeah.
down in
There
front of
you
you
go.
to see where the other squads are. Just theorizing what we've seen in some other games in the past, even if it's like Ghost Recon, where they really push the boat out and trying to say, look, here's your battlefield overview, here's where your squad mates are, this is
Yeah,
what you can call in just by looking at it.
one hundred
You know,
percent.
this is near future at the end of the day. It's stuff that is kind of probably most likely in development phase at the moment, or is, prototyping for the next 10 to 15 years. So there's nothing to say that we might not see something like that. It's quite probable we could do, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and
Yeah,
see. It's a good point you make, though.
yeah.
Actually, I do like
I
that.
just wanted to point that out just
Yeah.
while we're going through this. The next gun that is confirmed is a Scar H. This is a DMR variant. This is not an assault rifle. This is a DMR. If you could see the
Oh, really?
magazine, it's a box magazine like that. It's chambered in
Okay.
308. So
Oh,
think of what a Mosin is
yeah.
practically the same round a Mosin shoots. So
Oh,
a beefy round to
yeah.
308. It's very similar to what is that? 7.60 by 54 in reality. I'm
So it's
just
going
trying
to
to
be hard
think.
hitting.
It's going to be hard hitting. That's definitely a DMR for sure just by looking at the magazine. And of course, if there is different bullet types, that gun's going to be deadly if you come to think about it. If it's got
Absolutely.
armor piercing or incendiary rounds or something like that in game, it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, so the trade-off, you're going to get with a gun like that is if you've got all the customization options, it's going to be interesting to see how they balance
Yeah.
the actual weapon itself, in terms of its fire rate, whether or not you're going to be able to change the fire rates and maybe take up a slot within your customization options, whether the different specialists carry a different amount of options when it comes
hmm
to the plus system, whether some restrict more heavily than others in favor for attachments over perhaps maybe taking one of the specialists. bit like in COD actually with the perk system, where when you put
Yeah.
too many on, or if you want to carry more attachments, you have to sacrifice some perks.
Ooh,
Perhaps this is Battlefield's attempt of that, but maybe a lot more
to me interesting.
versatile and a lot cleaner,
Yeah,
which I'd be hoping
it's
for. But
not
no,
not as
excellent
annoying.
point when it comes to weapon
Yeah,
types. Oh yeah, and not as annoying and not as
for
spammy
sure.
as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Ooh,
All
an
right.
SMG. I like this
Yes.
one. This looks like my kind of gun right here.
This is going to be the LWRC SMG. It's chambered
Hmm.
in 45 ACP. Something I also want to point out for this one is that the stock itself doesn't look like it's a stock version. Of course, you have a suppressor. And again, with the magazine, I just noticed there is a blue circle on it.
Hmm.
Does that mean are we going to have different ammo types? That's something that I've seen occurring over and over again here, but that looks like it's going to be a really good overall submachine gun for sure.
Yeah,
Probably built
because
for more accuracy.
if you look at the optics
Yeah.
that are available there as well, looks like you've got an interchangeable,
Oh
what probably
yeah.
looks to be like a 3 times maybe plus a 1 times red
Yeah.
dot on
Red
top,
dot
where you
scope.
can
Yeah.
very quickly change between, which would add a lot of versatility to the SMGs. Now, this is obviously clearly very deliberate. There is no way these screenshots in general, obviously, even if it takes digging to go find, these would be visible in such a way where the gun just so happens to be out of the side like that when the soldier's
Yeah.
running forward to be able to see that. So I am very, very much looking forward to another element of customization, which isn't just, oh, here you go, here's the pre-game lobby, set your gun up the way it is, and that's it done. Give us more different ammo types.
Yeah.
Give us the clear trade-offs between that, because a lot of players that don't just go for the squad roles and perform them, you want the ability to be versatile when in combat. So
Yeah.
I would love to see the ability to change ammo types. I think it looks very clear that we could be getting that. Maybe they'll show it when they go into more detail with the plus system at EA Play. Hopefully they do. I
Oh yeah.
presume.
This plus system is awesome. I personally, just by looking at it, I already like it. I haven't even
Yeah,
used it yet.
and it doesn't look very clunky. It looks very clean. It's very
Very
clear.
clean. Yes, I like that.
To the player exactly what's required. You can see it at the bottom right
And
of the UI on the
to
screen
be
as
honest
well.
with you, if I may add something, that plus
Mhm.
system is going to open up a lot of doors to battle royale.
Yeah,
A
maybe that's going to be
lot,
their
a
answer to
lot of doors.
the Firestorm,
Yeah.
debacle of the
Be
looting system that they
maybe
had.
they'll go towards a PUBG route where you can put attachments on the guns you have, and the
Possibly,
plus
it
system is the way
works a
they
bit
do
like
it.
a class system, doesn't it? A bit like
Yeah.
in COD, pulling
Yeah.
in loadouts. It'd be very similar.
All right, we'll
Well,
move on.
interesting.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
one's yeah bringing up a lot of good points. But there's a lot to stuff to go over here. Go
Oh
over
my
with
god, yeah. We've still got quite a
these
few
weapons
things to
here.
go.
But the next one we have is the Vector or the Chris Vector. Um, this is new to Battlefield. I don't think we've seen a Vector in Battlefield.
Nope.
I don't think we have.
I
And a
don't think we even saw
Vector
one in Hardline either.
in real life is a very interesting submachine gun. I don't know if anyone knows this, but the Vector, the way the bolt and everything is set up, is that most guns, you shoot it and the bolt goes forward and backwards, and that's going to create
Mm.
recoil. And the
Hmm.
way the Vector compensates for recoil is that the bolt actually goes down like this.
Oh,
So instead of putting the recoil into your shoulder, it
yeah,
puts it down to your into your grip hand, and you can actually
yeah.
control the recoil significantly better. So I'm assuming
Oh,
if they go off real life, that this gun is
yeah.
going to be a laser. You're going to be able to light people up with this.
I've seen
It's going to
the
be
Chris
incredible.
Vector chambered in 4.5 ACP
Oh, they
in
have
other games and probably
in
various ammo types, right?
reality. There's a 9
Yeah.
millimeter. There is a 45 ACP. I think
Mm.
there's a 9 millimeter long. That's getting crazy. There is a 22 version, so little teeny bullets. I think there is. What else is there? I think there's some bigger ones, like a 50 cal pistol round, not a rifle, but like a
Oh,
Desert
okay.
Eagle. They have a
Yeah, yeah,
Desert
yeah,
Eagle round. That's a
yeah.
50.
What would you use that for, though? Why would you have one of that in a submachine gun PDW?
It's actually quite common now to see them in
Really?
carbines and submachine guns now. A lot of weapon companies are making them.
Right. Okay.
Mostly for sports shooting, for like
All right.
competitions, but
Yeah.
that would be interesting to see. But that gun, I
Very
am
pigeon shooting. Yeah.
genuinely gonna say is gonna be a laser.
Yeah,
Very
that's an
stable.
exciting gun. I do
Very
like
stable.
very stable laser beam SMGs, but
Yes.
again, making it
Might not be
versatile
accurate.
and with the plus system there, being able to change up your attachments and potentially turning one gun
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
maybe a very accurate SMG to one with a harder hitting, maybe more like a carbine range weapon, even if it means changing the ammo type, that kind of gives you that extra bit of bullet velocity, bit of extra range,
Yeah.
less damage drop off over range as well. Even if it's that element and I have to restrict to the same kind of optics as I was using, then I would be
Yeah.
all for that as well.
Yep.
100%.
100%. Yeah. Are we going to be moving on to our? This is our first LMG, I believe. This is the first LMG
Yes.
that we have here. Let me go right there. This one is a KAC LA MG. I don't really know anything about this, but it looks like it's chambered in 7.62.
Quite possibly. Yeah. It
Maybe.
reminds me of the LSAT
Yeah.
off BF4
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Um, it's definitely a big, clunky looking MG. So if they go off of movement and they change the movement system to
Yep.
where you're limited on movement with the type of weapons you're using,
Hmm.
that definitely looks like a gun that's going to slow you down.
Absolutely. And do you know what? I really want to add something. I've just got this image in my head now when you were talking about the movement system again. With the plethora of vehicles being able to transport from A to B,
Yeah.
it could be quite possibly an emphasis on, look, if you want to bring up that firepower onto the front line where you really need it the most,
Yeah.
you're going to have to get yourself in one of those vehicles, get taken from point A to point B, get out the back of the troop transport vehicle and start beaming from there. Because I
Yes.
don't think there's going to be any way that they're going to allow that kind of firepower with the size of the maps that you've got to just, all right, go up to that sand dune over there and then start laying down fire. Unless, of
Yeah.
course, you've got squad mates or other teammates that are willing to move vehicles up onto the front line to assist.
Yeah.
Um, because if it's a clunky old gun, especially the sentry gun as well, to go with
And
one of
that,
the
and
specialists.
let me also emphasize
Yeah.
something. It's an MG. It is not an
Oh,
LMG. So you
oh, so it
have
is
a
going to be
light
a.
machine gun and you have a medium machine gun, or MG. It does not look like a light machine gun. It's way too big. A light
Right.
machine gun is meant to be shouldered.
Yeah.
That is definitely like a medium machine gun. It's a big boy.
So it's gonna pack a huge punch then, and at
Yes.
the same time,
It might be one of
you
those machine
you're
guns
probably
where
gonna
you
be
have to buy
limited.
pod. Might be a have to buy pod to look down sights.
Uh,
I don't like that in
uh,
BF5, but if they continue that, that's most likely going to be one of those guns.
because that's just like an automatic nerf. I mean, if it's a case
Yeah,
of.
but it makes it more for squad support and
Mhm.
for defensive purposes only. You're not going to be running around with a 200 round magazine, and the gun probably is going to weigh 40 pounds and shouldering it and shooting it accurately
Well,
in
as long as you
reality.
can't lay down on your back and put the MG on your nuts and then fire off some rounds, then I'd be all for that because,
Yeah. Unless you're on a
unless,
sandbag. If you're
yeah,
laying like
yeah, yeah,
this
a
on a
different kind of
sandbag.
bag. You know,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
if you're on a sandbag, then fair enough. Maybe you get to carry sandbags. What if? Because
Oh.
because we haven't
Oh.
talked about that kind of system either.
Because that was in BF5, yeah.
It
That's
was
we're gonna have to
indeed.
we're gonna have to go over that
Yeah,
next
yeah,
week
yeah.
probably.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But
that's fine. I mean,
if
I always
anyone
look to
plays
go over.
squad or post
Mhm.
scriptum or hell let loose, I want a system like that to where you can place sandbags anywhere on the playable map, as long
Yeah.
as you set up
No.
like an FOB.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I want to see.
It introduces an awful lot of additional assets for a
Yeah.
game that is
Mm-hmm.
traditionally very straight to the point. You know, this is what
Mm-hmm.
you can and can't do. But I think with the new Levolution system, the new weather system, the fact that it's totally random than where things can appear on the map at any given time, I would rather see the ability now. I think now would be the better way to call that in. Because if your map is
Yeah.
going to get shredded to pieces
Mm-hmm.
because of a weather event and you're going to lose
Oh
cover,
wow.
then
Yeah.
maybe being
Very
able
true.
to carry some kind of cover within the squad, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
restricted to one or two players
Or
of
have
specific
lodges,
specialists.
like
Yeah,
logistic
wow.
trucks that bring in
Logistic trucks.
supplies that you can use
Yep.
to build up areas.
Yeah.
If
So
they want to
just
emphasize
anything
squad
that
play,
adds
that is
visual
squad play.
elements. Yeah,
Very true.
absolutely. In order
Very
to
true.
capture those points and push through when stuff like that is happening on the map, you're going to need some additional support from somewhere, and it doesn't necessarily mean in the form of
Yeah.
Bullets. You know,
Or a
you're going to
deployable
need something
shield.
extra.
Yeah, Sticks just he just said or a deployable shield like in COD. Very true. That can definitely be used. But I don't know if they're gonna go a route like that.
Do
But
they want to
it
go
could be
for the whole
used for a
super soldier
support
look?
character. Support character. They are going with specialists. Maybe that could be a specialist ability to have. But again, we still have to wait to EA
ballistic
Play to
shield
get
on it.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, quite
To wait to
possible
EA
because
Play.
they're naturally probably going to carry more armor as
Yeah.
well on
Exactly.
the player themselves. So we'll see.
Exactly.
But again, we haven't seen the health regen system. We don't
Yeah.
specifically know how that is going to work 100% as of yet. We know that there's going to be big emphasis on being a medic, but we don't know what the exact details are on the regen system. We just know they've, well, practically scrapped the entire attrition system. So
Yeah.
it's going to be more like BF4, but we don't
Yeah.
really know what it's going to be like
And not to get off topic here, I'm gonna bring us right back on.
yet.
But the next one that is confirmed is a Remington 870 shotgun, which
Sumo's
I
gonna
think
love that one.
I think that is I think this shotgun's pretty much well used over COD and Battlefield 4. I think has a version of this, a Remington like this, pump action. I think it's very common to see in first-person shooters. So this wasn't too much of a shock to me. Now, if you look to the right of the guy with the shotgun, it seems to be that he is using a rifle, and it seems to be somewhat of an M4 or a AR armor right type rifle. So I'm assuming we're going to see M4 type variants, or like I said up here, the M5.
Yep.
That is like the newer version, I guess you could say. In the game with a ton of different types that you can customize with, because in reality, armor right 15s or AR-15s and M4s and M416s can be totally disassembled. You can have 9mm variants, 45 ACP variants, you can have 308 variants, you can have 5.56 variants, 7.62 variants. There's so much customization with an AR armor right platform or an M4 platform or an M5 platform, the newest version that, I don't know, came out 2 years ago or something like that. I really don't know.
I've
The
heard
US
of the
Army.
M5 before.
Yeah, the US Army put a bunch of, like, dumped millions of dollars into the research for it, but there's a lot of stuff you can do with those. And I think Modern Warfare kind of went into that with their M4. You can make it a 9mm and turn what you would have like an M4 with a 5.56 like rifle into an SMG, which I thought was really interesting. And I hope Battlefield 2042 has that, mainly because I think that will bring something very interesting.
Yeah, because you've got different like M4 variants, haven't you, for different situations? I know the SEALs.
Oh yeah, there's
use different elements of them. You got the HK-16.
There's so many.
There's so many different ones, because there's the different ones for military and law enforcement, aren't there? Different weapon types.
They're actually
use different ones, don't they?
I mean, in the US, they're actually almost the same exact
Are
thing.
they almost identical? Okay.
Nearly identical. It depends. In the United States, I know law enforcement can either pick between an AR-15 or an M4 or an M16, and they can customize it themselves. But like I said, all it takes with an AR-15 or an M4 is changing the lower receiver and the bolt carrier group in some of them, and you can just completely, and the barrel, you can completely change the ammo type. 100%.
You don't think you're going to be able to do that in the game, right?
Now I think you might see that, but I don't think it's going to be available with the plus system. It's going to be something when you die, you got to go into your class settings and change it.
Change that.
Yeah, it's not going to be in the plus system. That wouldn't make any sense, and to me, that would give it a very unfair advantage, because AR-15s, for example, can be chambered in 308. That's a big round, That's like a DMR to a sniper,
Yeah.
And imagine being able to change between a 5.56 to a 308 like that. It's a drop of a
That's way too
dime.
much of an advantage. And they
That
did
yeah,
say, didn't they, that it wasn't going to be too OP
it's not going to be OP.
when it comes to
So
what you can be changing.
they're not going to have that. I can almost guarantee it. So,
Yeah, nice.
and I think that's it.
Definitely a lot of stuff to go through. Yeah, I
Yep.
think that the weapons are extremely exciting. They've given us an awful lot to go on so far. And again, we'll wait for EA Play in just a couple of weeks' time to
Yep.
confirm any additional information when it comes to the weapons, and we'll bring all that to you as soon as we get the info. But again, thank you very much once again to
Practical
your
Shadow
boy
Demon.
Practical Shadow Demon for going ahead and putting out all that info for us via screenshots and providing the information.
Yep.
And yeah, so thank you very much for that, because that was a helpful insight into the weapons so far. But now we start getting into for me, what is a really juicy part of this, because I'm a stickler when it comes to
I'm excited for this.
campaigns of any kind. And yes, obviously, if you guys are aware, and you should be by now, there's no single player campaign this time around, at least not on the face of it anyway. And Rhody and I have discussed this over the past couple of weeks or so. And the live story mode in
That's what was said.
multiplayer sounds very, very interesting. As you guys know, this time around, the game itself has, I guess, in a way, has gone slightly political in a way. In the case of that, it's it's relatable to the real world. There's
Hmm.
lots of things going on in the world right now that could bring this kind of event into the fold in 10, 15, 20 years' time. We've got climate change on the
But again,
table as well.
it's very fictional as well.
Oh
Let's
yeah, of
just
course,
just say
absolutely.
that
To
first
stress it,
before.
it is first and
Very
foremost it
very
is
fictional.
fictional. But in
Yeah.
terms of trying to build a relatable storyline of any kind,
Yeah.
a live story mode with multi-year support between the seasons, which I think is what you've suggested it's going to be,
Yes.
sounds incredibly interesting. Have you got anything extra you want to add to that?
From what I understand with it is, if anyone has played Fortnite, you have live events like the asteroid that destroyed Tilted Towers, and it continues kind of like a story. See, now Fortnite didn't stick to a singular storyline; that kind of just went all over the place with it. But I think this is the way they're going to do it. They're going to really focus on multiplayer and playing as a squad, so on and so forth. But I think that they're going to have live events to where every season, every live, what were they saying? Live service. I think that's
Yeah.
what they called it. You will see more or less a live event that will continue the storyline over like a couple years. And I'm pretty sure it's confirmed now that Battlefield 2482 is going to have, what do you think, 3 years of
I
support?
would suggest 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
given
yeah,
the elements that they're able to add now, and the upgrades to the Frostbite engine and
yeah,
various other things, and obviously the ultimately unlocking over time of the software and hardware within the next gen consoles, and when they become more readily available, they're
yeah,
definitely going to add additional features to it. And I think rather than producing a different game all the time,
yeah.
Battlefield needs to get this one right before we even contemplate moving on to another game afterwards. So I would say that we're going to get at least 2 years at the very least. And EA sound very confident in their delivery of this. But again, the only reason why, from a community standpoint, I would be confident in seeing multi-year support, despite the executives saying yay for now,
Yeah.
would be the way they've delivered so far in terms of way they've presented the trailers to us, the way they've given us some sandbox moments. So stuff like that just screams to me that the devs are in control, even though ultimately the answer to above 2 year plus support doesn't sound unreasonable whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's what they plan on doing with this. I think that this game is going to be really successful than
Let's not
Battlefield
forget
5.
we've got Game Pass, and
Oh yeah.
you've probably seen that Xbox are confirmed to be the official console
Oh yes, I
this
saw
year.
that. I did see that.
Yeah, their official partner. And then let's not forget, of course, you've probably seen this as well. I actually forgot to mention this to you before. Nvidia confirmed to be the graphics card partner of choice this time around. So
I could have definitely have guessed that.
They've confirmed ray tracing. You can see ray tracing
Yeah.
within this. It's going to look beautiful. If you've got a rig that can run ray tracing with the LSS, then at
Yes.
least do it just to get a look of what the new modes and the new maps look like. Even
Yep.
though ultimately you're going to want to go frames win games, you know,
Hmm.
it's going to be a spectacle to see on the new hardware. So hopefully, as time goes on, we're going to get some new elements, and of course, let's not
For
forget
sure.
reflex as well,
100%.
which will
Yes.
help with system latency and improve performance,
Yep.
which we've never seen before in a Battlefield game. The latter, so that's exciting. But back to the story mode in general. Hopefully, what they'll do is they'll evolve it completely over time. They
Yeah.
might give us some flashbacks, give us some new information regarding the world, perhaps taking us to the new maps that get released for
Hmm.
everyone, and
Yeah.
introducing each new map and different area with a different
Yes.
faction, maybe.
100%.
Because the no-pats are a huge faction
Yeah.
with multiple countries amalgamated into one or two. So maybe we'll get some backstory and give us some history dice, please, because you did that very well in BF1. So please give it
Yeah.
us back.
Hmm.
You know, give it us back. Let's do this.
Yeah. 100%.
Anything else you've seen or want to add about Life Story? Because it still got me excited to see that they've given us some background and not just say go and fight US
Yeah.
versus Russia.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a lot going into it, and I think we're going to see a lot more out of EA Play about that storyline, and what they're going to be doing with it. So I'm excited to
we
see that.
can probably expect a trailer, probably
Hmm.
to open it up,
Yep.
to provide the extra background. We might even see some characters, maybe some of the specialists, a bit like
Yep.
Siege does, where they introduce the different storylines of the different characters of what they did in their individual units
Hmm.
before they get to Team Rainbow. So I'd like to see that. Um, it just allows players to bond with the characters.
Yeah.
If you're not going to give a single player and you're not going to introduce a kind of modern warfare storyline where people can fall in love with individual characters and their stories,
Yeah.
then you're going to have to give them something to go on to go, why should I care? Otherwise,
Yeah.
don't bother tell me. Because war
Hmm.
stories, as we know, was awful
Yeah.
in terms of bringing players in. It offered no
Yeah.
additional
No.
insight or
I
reward
honestly, I
to
did
it.
not like the war stories, and with
Mm,
that, I think they went a little weird with it. A lot of the war stories were actually not 100% accurate at all. Not, I couldn't even say
yeah,
50% accurate. And I think a lot of people can
we're
agree
annoyed
with
at
me on
that,
that.
right?
Very annoyed. They
Yeah.
want to say the untold stories of World War II, and they didn't even touch on any untold stories. It was just a lot of nonsense for the majority of it.
Which is why I love the idea of this new life story mode where
Yeah.
it's fictional, as we've said, of course, the storyline, but at the same time, the themes that are being introduced into this near future battlefield are what the planet is probably at some point going to have to endure over the next
Hmm.
20, 30 years or so.
Yep.
Um, so there's elements to explore. You can bond to the game. So that gets me a little bit excited because, as I say, I'm someone who loves single players, and I would have quite
Yeah.
happily have played a near future Battlefield single player, and
I would have as well.
given what they teed it up as before we saw the reveal trailer, I was like, oh my god, are we going to see this world being torn to shreds, and we're going to go through an emotional roller coaster? I still would love to have seen that, but Battlefield needs to
Same
be to
here,
its
but
roots.
I think I think this is gonna be interesting if they go with a live version of it
Hmm.
that everyone can
Okay.
relate and share. But it'll be
Is
interesting.
there
We'll see.
anything you want to add extra to that before we move on?
Nope, that's all.
All right. So, for you hardcore players out there, whether it's console or PC, and if you've ever played BF4 and competed in competitive Battlefield ever, or even just played with some of your friends in some competitive modes back in the on the competitive servers on BF4 back in the day, you'll know that Battlefield unfortunately has had a competitive mode missing from the franchise for a very long time. It's been severely neglected. They tried to kind of resurrect it a little with Firestorm, where they were putting on various tournaments to kind of G
Yeah.
up the mode and encourage people to
Hmm.
play it. But nothing where EA were actively investing in the new player base, the true hardcore player base, of the people who have mastered the game's mechanics, the way the game works, and the way Battlefield is supposed to be played. So this brings us nicely on to what is supposed to be DICE's answer to a battle royale, because in case you've missed the first episode, BR has been confirmed not to be in the game, at least for the first year of support. They've
Yep.
said that categorically. So we have
Hazard
Hazard
Zone.
Zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hazard Zone is
And
not the battle royale. For everyone that was
no,
like, "Oh my God, Hazard Zone," la, 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 la. No, it's not the battle royale.
it's not the battle royale that any of us, potentially thought that EA were going to include, given the fact that it is an absolute money-making machine for Activision when it comes to Warzone. I am super glad that we're not going to be seeing
Yeah.
a battle royale straight off the rip. So I think Hazard Zone, for me, the premise of it is squad play and a love letter to
Yeah.
the fans. So
Actually, about the love letter to the fans,
yeah.
it wasn't Hazard Zone. That was the love letter to the fans.
Oh, okay. Which one have I
Um,
got confused with there then?
it's a new mode
Oh, a
that
brand
they're
new mode that's
adding. It's a
redacted. That one.
Hazard Zone. That's the one
Okay.
being sent out. But
Yeah.
this goes on to something that I put in the notes here for our stuff. LA Dice is making a mode themselves, just LA Dice. So as everyone knows, Dice in Stockholm, they are currently making Battlefield 2042, pretty much the whole game. LA Dice in the United States is solely working on one mode, and they said that this will be the love letter to the fans to make up for what happened with Battlefield 5.
We can call it that. Yeah.
So, um, I'm assuming that's probably going to be our BR, our Battle Royale, because as we saw with Battlefield 5, what was the game studio that did Firestorm? It was
Criterion.
yep, it was a separate one.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same.
No.
So I think we can expect a Battle Royale from that. I
Yeah.
could be
And
wrong, but I think that's what it's going to be.
I would like to think that it's potentially at a certain point in its development cycle now where, we're not going to see leaks. We're not going to see any kind of info coming out. It's probably
No.
still in the early phases. We've got to think here. It's a brand new generation of hardware, a brand new game engine,
Yeah.
a brand new potential player base coming in. For all we know, they could potentially shelve the whole Battle Royale aspect
Yeah.
completely, entirely for multi-year support. And that
Yeah.
ultimately is what just brings in the revenue for EA and DICE this time around. And that, overall, going back to its quite literal roots before the BR days, most people probably won't argue a toss, unless, of course, you're coming over from Call of Duty, in which case you'd be like, oh, why
Yeah.
does Battlefield not have a
To be
Battle
honest,
Royale? I don't want to play this game.
with
Is
you,
it
I'd be
inevitable,
excited to
though?
see one. I would be excited to see a BR as long as it's done right and it's enjoyable to play. Firestorm was very clunky,
Yeah.
but seeing that LA Dice is solely working on one mode themselves,
That's a
I
lot of
think
development resources for
is
one mode.
it's
It's got to
suggesting
be something significant, right? In order to commit
exactly.
that amount of time
Yeah,
to
they're
it.
suggesting that that's what's going to be for sure.
Well, that's really interesting because in terms of DICE LA, they talked about them very briefly. But in terms of the info that I caught, there wasn't much to go on at the time. So I'm glad you've
No.
actually raised that. And that would be
Yeah.
exciting to see whether or not we get a little bit of a teaser as like a mid-season thing or
And
whether it's
that
going to come at the end of the
information
year.
that information I got from that is Westy got that information to confirm to his followers. I saw a video that he
Okay.
posted, and he did confirm some speculation behind that, so that's why we're going over it.
Ooh. Okay. Well, it's going to be really interesting to see what they come up with. And at the end of the day, with the amount of development resources that are on this, at the end, the EA are staking their reputation on this franchise. Like, despite all of the IPs that they have
Yeah.
in their entire portfolio, this
Yeah.
is like the creme de la creme
I think EA
of the entire thing.
is gonna concentrate on this because EA just lost its contract for Star Wars as well. So
Absolutely.
they are
Yeah.
probably banking on making Battlefield its long-term goal in like their
Yeah.
sport games. Of course, they're very popular sport games,
The
but
the two that they had long ago, and obviously,
yeah.
DICE had a lot of development time, allocated to Star Wars, and they didn't want to mess that up, despite them obviously messing it up a little bit when the game
Yeah.
came out. So they have to go back to what they do best. To be honest, they have to crush
Battlefield.
it this time.
Yeah.
We have to see that.
Yeah. But I think we're gonna be moving on from there now.
Hmm.
I think these next 2 points we're gonna be discussing after this are just very small talking points. I think they're just confirmations for everyone about stuff we talked about last episode. The first one I'm gonna be going over is about PS4 and Xbox One. Um, of course, they're not next gen consoles, so that means a lot of different things. And pretty much what that's going to mean, and this is confirmed, is that the maps will be smaller. They will not be these full size, extremely large maps like they're advertising. And they will not have the 128 player
Yeah.
size. They will not have that. You will have 64 players on a smaller version of the newer maps. So unless you have a next gen console, you're probably not going to be able to play cross-play with
Yeah.
PC, PS5, and the new Xbox.
So this then leads us into something that is very interesting that you've mentioned that. Yes, I would absolutely kind of bank on the fact that you're not going to be able to do crossplay with PC and Xbox Series X and
Yeah.
PS5,
Mm-hmm.
unless, of course, you have one of those consoles.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the AI bots come in
Yeah.
to keep the lobbies full. So whether or not we see AI bots across the entire spectrum of previous and next gen consoles and PC support,
I
or
think they
whether it's
said
just to
for
fill in those
everything.
certain lobbies, I
Mm-hmm.
think they said them all
I
to
think,
obviously
yeah.
keep the servers populated. And then it works probably a bit like a CSGO system where if someone
Yeah.
joins, a bot gets removed.
Yep. That's
Um,
exactly how it's going to work. I'm pretty sure they
but
can.
that
Saw a
definitely
tweet.
assists the previous gen consoles more than the next gen. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't. Um, hinder my excitement for any of the modes whatsoever.
Yeah.
Actually, I would
100%.
rather have full games with these huge
Mm-hmm.
maps and have
Yeah.
people shooting back at me than having be like, where's the next player coming from, guys? There's only 64 players in this server. What are we gonna do? And having like a 5.5 square kilometer map to try and find people.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the game was designed from the ground up with next gen and PC
Yeah.
only at the time, but it's only because of the shortage of those
I think,
consoles and
yeah.
the hardware that's a problem.
100%. And I think that's really good for community servers as well because you see a lot of community servers that are just empty or have like
Hmm.
10 to 20 people playing in them because that's just the community of players. Let's just say it's a streamer. He's playing with
Yep.
20 of his viewers currently on his
Yeah.
BF4 server, but then you're missing all of those players. And I think in
Absolutely.
Battlefield 2042, those bots will fill those spaces and it will
Yep.
allow them to continue having fun. You'll see a lot of devastation. You'll be able to still incorporate that squad play and constantly have combat on the sectors and the points you'll be taking.
Yeah, and I would love to see the official RSP program come back, where you used to be able to rent servers in game within
Yeah.
BF4. Give
Mm-hmm.
us the actual ability to rent official dice servers where you have them as a community. I think the whole thing of having like G-Portal is a great idea, and ultimately, that's a business model and a way for EA to make money off those servers as well, because ultimately it is going to be their server space that's rented out in data
Yeah.
centers across the world. But I think having the official RSP programs in there where you can rent it in game, you're paying the devs directly rather
Exactly.
than through an alternative website. We are supporting their
Mm-hmm.
ability to keep providing us content other than buying things like skins through the battle pass or something
Yeah.
like that. Um,
100%.
RSP, DICE, again, I know this is a tangent, but if you ever hear this, then RSP, please,
Yes.
for
And
the
I
love of
think
God,
the
put
amount
it
of
in the
outcry,
game right off the rip.
everyone's been complaining about that since
Yep.
BF1. So,
Yeah.
which
Get it
eventually
in the
we got
game.
it, but still, it's something that everyone wants off the
By the
start.
time the game died.
Yeah. By the
Yes.
time the games die and then they put community servers up, and it's like,
Hey guys,
thanks.
revive our community that we've neglected over this period of time.
Exactly.
But yeah, now we're going to look at what the previous and the next gen consoles are both going to have to deal with when it comes
Yeah.
to gameplay and level design, and that's Levolution. Now,
That's what I said.
for anybody who is an absolute veteran of Battlefield, Levolution is the very game design element that sets Battlefield apart from the rest of the competition. Being able to blow open walls, knock down buildings, using tanks to drive through stuff and open up new avenues to kind of dominate the battlefield is what
Hmm.
Battlefield is all about. And
Yeah.
we've touched on this very briefly in episode 1. I have, in terms of my views on Levolution, it's back. To what extreme extent
Battlefield 3, maybe?
is potentially, because you used to be able to blow open more walls with grenade launchers and things,
Hmm.
bring buildings down in BF4. But with all these vehicles and all the little tweaks to the Frostbite engine that they've made this time, expect the ability to carve your own path, I would say.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah,
I'm ready for
like
that for
it
sure.
wouldn't be Battlefield without the ability to blow open walls and change
Devastation.
the
Yep.
landscape of the battlefield, would it?
Yep. Nope.
Let's be
And
honest.
being able to build it back up like in BF5, I think is an awesome feature, and I hope they carry that over and make tweaks to it. I think
Yep.
that was my
I
favorite thing, honestly. When I was watching BF5 being developed and all the stuff they kept
mm,
putting out and playing in
mhm.
like the betas and stuff like that, being able to build sandbag walls and turn a point that was completely in the open into a sandbag fortress was very impressive. I liked it.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the ability to build
Hmm.
reinforcements, regardless of what class you were. It was nice to be able to like kind of shield my teammates from tanks and incoming bullets and any
Yeah.
kind of stray shot snipers blocking lines of sight. Being able to take the objective, it wasn't OP. Like if you were close enough to the objective, you weren't gonna be able to allow the other team to rebuild their reinforcements quick enough to be able to affect the gameplay.
Yeah.
Um, this time around with the sentry guns and various other elements that kind of point towards being able to reinforce and push an objective,
Hmm.
then the reinforcement system for me has to come back. Let's
Yeah.
have it back.
It's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be great.
And
So,
and that's Levolution for you at
yeah.
the moment. They're definitely gonna showcase the storms more. I think the real time weather system is an absolute incredible addition to an already
Yes.
amazing Levolution system. And I'm just looking at the reveal trailer now. Every time I look at being able to go across buildings and seeing the sandstorms and the tornadoes, for me that is Battlefield.
Yeah.
And to add the weather in there, I'd love to see maybe blizzards
Oh, blizzards would be cool.
in
Well, there
there.
is a snow map. There is a glacier
Yeah,
map, I'm pretty sure. So I think we're going to see
um,
that. That would make
I
a lot
think
of
so.
sense.
Six is not going to be very happy if he can't see through that blizzard. But it's a blizzard. Sorry,
Yeah,
Sticks, but you ain't going to be able to see through that blizzard. Maybe you get affected by temperature.
exactly. Yep.
So who knows? But that's going to be Levolution. Now,
Yep.
on to
Our
our
last one.
final topic of the day. And this is a little bit of info that
Yeah.
you and
And,
I are
yep.
pretty excited about.
And before we move on to that, right after this, we're going to have a Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, you can put it in the chat. And for everyone that just came into my stream, we are going over stuff about Battlefield 2042. And if you have any questions, right after this one, we're going to be answering anyone's questions about the Knicks game that we know to our knowledge to be able to try to answer them. So I welcome everyone to the stream. All right, so we're going to be talking about Conquest. For everyone that knows Conquest or remembers Conquest, Conquest was you raise your country's flag above an objective and you take it and you bleed tickets for the other team, or you earn tickets until you win, until you reach that certain amount of tickets or your other team runs out of tickets. They've kind of gone back and forth with that. But this new version of Conquest, I'm going to be moving to a different scene here so we can show this off,
Yeah.
is completely different due to the reason that the maps are nearly twice the size in Battlefield 2042 than it was in, for example, BF5. Like
That's
Hamada,
huge, that map. It's
yeah,
crazy.
Hamada was huge. Now, just to say this to everyone, this image is not an actual map. This is just a example of what you
Hmm.
can see in the maps and to showcase how Conquest is going to work. Conquest is going to be working from a sector to sector basis. So, due to the time, due to the maps being twice the size, you will see sectors now. And within each sector, depending on the size of the sector, you will see different objectives. So I'm assuming points that you would cap within a sector. And the only way you control a sector and get the max amount of tickets or points out of it, you must control all the objectives within a sector to fully control it. So you're going to see a lot of fighting in sector to sector to try to control each and every one of them. And maybe we can see some advantages to controlling a full sector. Maybe an increase in tanks, maybe another helicopter, so on and so forth. But I'm pretty sure the way they're going to do it is, if you look on screen here, you're going to see, I'm just going to go the blue side. You see A1, A2, and A3. We're looking at this, and the way they've explained it, you must take all 3 points to control the sector. And you can see that that one is extremely bigger than, for example, the E, Echo objective, or the Foxtrot objective right below it. Now, I don't know what those blue dots are. Those random blue dots are on there. They haven't really talked much about what those are. So maybe there's more objectives you can do to earn tickets or to bleed tickets. But I'm assuming that the size of the sector is going to influence the amount of tickets it's worth and how many objectives you're going to have to take.
That particular map there, even though it's for demonstration purposes only, which obviously, as you said, is important to stress here, the element there on the blue side from A1, 2, and 3 looks very, very similar to the snow map that we saw.
Yeah, the biggest one, right?
Yeah, because if you look at the mountainside there, it does look like that could be. Looks like there's a lot of different avenues for vehicles to take you from A to B. The fighting over objectives sounds very interesting. I think assigning assets to certain areas to assist you with overtaking an objective, and it rewards squad play again if you have that kind of element in there. So if you take a certain sector within the conquest map and you get rewarded with specific vehicles that you might have access to, air assets where you've got like an airfield. I would love to see something like that. That's something that would happen in real life as well. If you take over an airfield, you can use that as a base of operations to launch other operations into other countries.
And I think that's what it's going to be like, because you could clearly see that certain sectors are extremely larger than others.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like a proper battle map showcasing exactly where you need to go from headquarters to headquarters. And
might be a 3D map.
Quite
instead
possibly.
of the flat version that we had before, if you maybe hit the M key and you can pull up the 3D map to see the terrain and everything, would be pretty interesting. Might be a squad leader role,
Yeah,
specialist.
that would offer some great insight into the types of vehicles and assets you might want to move from one place to another in order to take over those objectives. There are
100%.
so much design elements that they seem to have included this time around to kind of build upon what Battlefield was already excellent at. And I've stressed this so many times to anyone who's been in my chat, that your mini map or your tac map, whatever you want to call it, is extremely important for Battlefield awareness. Like, you cannot win gunfights and tell your squad to go from A to B if you don't know what is going on the map at the time. So having a 3D element to a map design would definitely assist the squad leader role there.
100%.
I would love to see that. And that is a great graphic. Where did you find that?
That was tweeted, I'm pretty sure, from Battlefield themselves. Like, this is from DICE, I believe, on Twitter. I can't remember. I saw it on Twitter. I think DICE put something out. I think I may have I may have retweeted it. But this is really interesting, and this changes Conquest, I think, forever. I don't think the way we remember Conquest, I don't think it's going to be the same.
Forever, right?
It's always going to be changed now,
It's got me excited, because if those little objectives there are in between the main flag captures or base captures, whatever it's going to be, it could very well be a complete amalgamation of things like operations, front lines, rush, conquest, all within the same
just
element.
Like you were saying, airfields. You might have to go control the airfield, control a radio tower, and control maybe a ammunition depot to control a sector.
Yep, take over the assets of the area before you get the main objective, like the base of operations.
100%. I think that's what it's going to be like.
very much prevent the spawn trapping system, which is very
Oh
easy
yeah,
to fall into when you got 7 flags on a map with minimal
it's
avenues
gonna
of escape.
it's gonna be harder to push
Yep.
because if each it looks to be like pretty much each point has got 1 to 3 objectives to take. So if
Yep.
you're going to take a
Depending on
larger
the area
one,
of the
you
map.
have to fight 3
Mhm.
objectives, and I'm assuming you're going to be able to spawn on A1 while the other team has A3. They'll be able to spawn there as well. I think that's
Absolutely.
what we're going to see that for sure.
Yeah, so the
I think
spawn
that's what we're going to
trapping
see.
element here hopefully is going to be
Removed.
eliminated until you get to the point in the game where you should be in a very precarious, disastrous position where your team is
Hmm.
inevitably going to lose. If
Yeah.
you've got 64 players on the other side coming at your headquarters and you have got minimal assets to control, you are very
Hmm.
much screwed
Yeah.
at that point. But that's how it should be. I would expect that.
Strategic.
But
You have to be strategic. You have to
strategic
make sure you
gameplay.
take points
Yep.
that are going to give you that edge, that
And
advantage.
for anybody that thinks that that's maybe taking the realism aspect a little bit too far, then I would ask you to think again whether Battlefield is, the game that you really want to kind of invest your time into. Because what they're doing now is just building upon an already excellent mode system
Hmm.
that they've had for many years. Conquest is
Yeah.
quintessential Battlefield. They have never dared to adjust the conquest system until we brought
Never.
operations in BF1, and that was an excellent mode. They brought history in. They brought
Exactly. I like that
days
a lot.
in where they told you exactly how many battalions you had left. It gave you a sense of purpose. And
Hmm.
Conquest, for me personally, chat, is a game mode that up until recently is something I've not really liked to do because of I'm not a vehicle player. And
Yeah.
without
Yeah. Yeah.
vehicles, which are going to be a big aspect of this game, I'm going to be forced to learn vehicles this time around.
I think
Um,
we're all gonna have to
I think we
relearn
all are.
vehicles because it's gonna be a team play aspect.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Rhody, for pulling that one up because that is
Yep.
an excellent map there, and
It's
hopefully,
very good.
they'll showcase more of the individual maps like this when we
Hmm.
get to EA Play
For
in
sure.
July.
100%.
So going back here.
Alrighty, guys. I guess we're gonna be moving on to Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, throw them up into chat now, and we're gonna go over that.
Absolutely. But I think this particular episode, whilst we wait for those questions to come in, has been pretty enlightening. We've had
Yeah.
a lot of additional info come through that we
Hmm.
weren't aware of before or didn't kind of delve into any particular detail on.
Yeah.
There is a lot of extra information that we are yet to find out on, and this one's been a pretty juicy one.
Yeah. It's been
I've
pretty good.
particularly enjoyed this conversation over the
Yeah.
past hour and 40 minutes that we've been
Yeah.
speaking
I
about here, which is
figured it
pretty
was gonna be about
crazy.
2 hours. A lot
Yeah,
of information to cover.
absolutely. I haven't got any in particular questions in my own chat right now, but we'll
No,
we'll
same
definitely
here.
wait for you guys to post some things if you want us to answer any
100%.
questions
And for
before
everyone
we head
that's
off.
just getting into the stream now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be reposting this on my personal YouTube. If you, I don't have any videos and it's not in my link tree. So if you want to just look up Rhody Games on YouTube and subscribe, I'm more or less going to just post an uncut version of this. And I think Snake is going to take clips of certain sections that he really wanted to highlight and put it on his YouTube. I might put some stuff on TikTok and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna put a command in my chat if you guys want to follow my socials. Just click that Linktree link right there, and I think Snake's socials as well.
Yeah, absolutely, chat. We absolutely encourage every single one of you to take on board the information, ask us any questions, because we know full well that there are people out there who are, ultimately still kind of wrapping their heads around what Battlefield truly is and where
Good
it's
pressure.
going to be going from here. But we're going to be doing our very best with the help of the
Yeah.
community. We actively, want you guys to send us information over that you find from the sources that you're looking at. Nabs, I know you've posted a few things to us via Twitter. So anyone that is looking to send any info our way so we can check it out and see what it's about, then
Yeah.
feel free to get at us on our socials. And again, all the links
100%.
will be in my chat as well as in Rhody's as well.
Yep. I
So
just
any
posted
questions you come up with,
Snake's socials, and I posted all of mine in there as well. So
There we go. So, have you got any questions on your side
I
at the moment?
I have no questions.
Okay. Well, hopefully, what we'll get is as we produce like little bits of content on the side of the show as well, that you guys can catch highlights of, that we'll be getting some questions. So when it comes to the next show,
Yep.
perhaps at some point we might be able to start off with a small question and answer session from the previous episode, which I
Yep.
think would be quite helpful,
I think it will.
especially if people have got specific questions. But feel free to fire them at us, and I'll make sure that they're passed on between both of us in the near
Okay.
future.
Crusher actually just added something into my chat because he's saying that your chat has a bit of a delay at the moment.
There's a
About
surprise.
Firestorm, and
Yep.
he didn't think it was that terrible. I actually enjoyed Firestorm a lot, but a thing that took away from it was no anti-cheat. Of course, that is
Hmm.
something we covered a lot in the first episode that we absolutely need in the next Battlefield,
Hmm.
and that you have to buy Battlefield to play it. I think if they're gonna open up another door to BR, I think it should be free to
Yeah.
play, and it will encourage people to buy Battlefield 2042 and increase the community. So,
Yeah, it's a win-win. Next
yep,
generation, and I agree. Kusher, that's a great question. Like you've got to have what have we got here? We've got crossplay with more details to come.
mm-hmm.
128 player games,
Yep,
multi-year support for a multiplayer only game, a potential BR perhaps in the works from Dice LA. You know, if you amalgamate all that together, the one mistake, two mistakes they made, not including an anti-cheat, and
yep,
obviously not making it free to play. If you make that free to play and the rest of the game is doing extremely well, then we might not even need the AI bots
nope,
because people are going to absolutely overflow the servers
yeah,
with the rental server program, with the elements of community
and
games in there. It's looking good.
it's gonna be awesome. Imagine having your own battle royale server to host your own
Oh,
community tournaments. That I would love to
oh,
have that for both of our communities. I think that's gonna be great,
absolutely.
especially if
And
they would
I'd
like to
I'd
add
like
that.
to see like it's an interesting point you make there, and it's all entirely relatable that you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to get those people like us that would be interested in doing that unless, of course, you've got the anti-cheat backing us up. We don't
Yep,
want to
we
have
need
to
that
deal
anti
with
cheat.
people jumping in and this goes for any content creator or any avid Battlefield player out there. You don't want to have your tournaments ruined um, by cheaters wanting to jump in and basically ruin it. And I actually have a little bit of info now that you've mentioned cheating again that would heavily influence, you know, how this game releases.
Yep,
Unfortunately, it does look like that due to the EA hack that happened a few weeks ago, that the source code potentially might have been leaked for the next Battlefield online. There are some pre-orders taking place for cheats, from what I've seen. Now, for good reason. The Tactical Brit, who's a pretty big player within the community, he's blanked out the URLs for good reason because nobody wants to know where they're coming from. But EA, if you guys are, you know, watching this and any other show that might be on or any kind of podcast where people are talking about this right now, we do not want to see the cheaters getting ahead of the game before the game even releases.
yep.
That
You
would be
guys
an
need to
absolute
fix that
disaster
immediately.
from the very beginning, 100%. And you know, going after those sites that produce these things is probably going to be more worthwhile in the long run than it is just
Yep,
having the anti-cheat in there.
exactly.
Because as long as those sites are around, people are going to get hold of these systems very easily. And it's
Yep,
something that frustrates us all. And if we want to grow communities, whether it's a community server or whether it's Battle Royale, an anti-cheat system that can work effectively with the community and make sure
yep.
that those people that do not deserve to play this game never get the chance to in the future, then that
Hundred
needs to be
percent.
in from the very beginning.
Yep,
That's a
definitely.
very important point where we've just opened a whole Pandora's box of other questions that
One
require
hundred percent.
answering.
Yeah.
But again, this is what the Q&A is for, you know, to go into that a little bit of extra detail of what you guys have seen or what you want further insight on before we get to EA Play on July the 22nd. Have we got anybody else? I understand there's a delay in my chat once
Exactly,
again.
Crusher. We're 100%
Um,
on board with you.
but yeah, we are behind those responses, and with the people that we play with, pretty much everyone, Sticks, Simo,
Yeah.
you, me,
Yeah.
and everyone else who plays with us agrees that those are the types of elements that we have to see from the ground up being implemented from
Yeah.
day one
I think
without
everyone's on
question.
board.
If
Hmm.
they want this game to succeed in multi-year, then unless you get the base elements correct, including anti-cheat, this game will not survive past 1 year. It's not
That's the
happening.
truth.
Even with AI bots and everything else, no one's going to even be on the server. It's just going to be literal bots. You know,
Yeah.
why have community servers if you're not
Yeah.
going to have an effective anti-cheat system?
Hmm.
Simple as
That is a
that.
good point. Yep.
Is there anything else, Rhody, you would like to add before we close out today's
No,
episode?
I think that's it. I think we went over everything. Unless anyone has some questions they want to. Crusher also just said not only that, a better report system, which is very true.
Very true. Origin is absolutely shocking, and this goes because Steam is excellent at this. They
Hmm.
jump all over it, and I'm fascinated to see why, with next gen console support plus the ability to buy the game on Steam, why these platforms wouldn't enforce an anti-cheat of some kind to say, look,
Yeah.
we can't be having you guys ruin our players' experiences. So please, from the very beginning, if you want this game marketed, put an anti-cheat in. If you want
Yeah.
to use our platforms to appeal to other players, then you need to make sure that it's fair for all. Because
Yeah.
yes, you've got certain elements where controllers can be modified to a point where it looks like, you have no recoil.
Oh.
But in terms of where the mass issue lies, it's all on PC. You can't change the
Yeah.
code in a console to do that. It doesn't happen
No.
anymore.
Just controller
But
stuff.
enforce it. Make it a requirement that if you have a tactical game and you want
Yeah.
to be on console platforms, then as part of the certification process before you can release your game, have an anti-cheat as a requirement. Especially if you're going to monetize. And the ESRB can look at this as well, in terms of when they rate games, because
Hmm.
they usually give individual details within the game's
Yeah.
certification process of what they've given ratings for. And it
Yeah.
does give away a lot of those elements when you
For
see the
sure.
official releases. So, Crusher, once again, another good point that you make,
Another
and
good
we're
one.
100% behind you there. Do you want to add
Yep.
anything to that?
No, I think you covered everything, and we need an anti-cheat and a better report system. Period.
Yeah.
End of story. And
You'll hear us ram that into the ground in pretty much every episode, and the word
yeah.
anti-cheat is going to be thrown around quite regularly over the coming weeks. And I would very much like them to have like a security segment within EA Play where they give us an overview of the types of things they've been working on. Maybe not telling us exactly which anti-cheat system they're going to use. I think they should keep that one pretty
Yeah.
much hush hush, and I would expect them to do that.
One hundred
But I would
percent.
also like to see, because I know some people aren't a fan of Battle Eye for whatever weird reason. But I would definitely like to see maybe them develop their own proprietary one, perhaps
Hmm.
that's unique to their game.
But if they have to use
So
Battle Eye, Battle Eye is a good way to go.
Battle Eye's a good way to go. I know some people aren't a fan. We've got Vanguard,
Yeah.
which is what's used on Valorant.
Yep.
Um, and that's an effective system. But again,
Hmm.
sometimes things like Overwolf, when you check your stats, that can get you banned inadvertently. They need to look at that because those stat systems, especially for
Yeah.
competitive players, when you're joining lobbies and stuff
Hmm.
for various reasons, are kind of key to be
Yeah.
able to give you an advantage. And if you want to use them, you shouldn't be penalised for that
Exactly.
because they are officially recognised
Hmm.
systems.
Yep.
But I think with that being said,
I think that's
shall we
it.
close out the Q&A there
Yeah.
and
I think
end
that's
for
good.
this week? No
Yep.
worries.
That's good.
I guess I'll take us out then. So, guys, thank you very much for bearing with us for just under 2 hours.
Yep.
The Q&A segment is going to be a huge part of the weekly shows that we are going to be running, and for the time being, in terms of the time frame that we're going to be running these shows for both myself and Rhody, pending any issues, it's going to be between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. British Summer Time, if you're over here in Europe dash the UK, and as
East
far
Coast
as
is gonna be 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock for you, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So as far as what we're going to be covering, if you want to check out any of the additional information over the coming weeks, then we will be posting on our socials. Feel free to check out our live streams, YouTube
Yeah.
channels, All those links are down below, and also any kind of snippets from the shows I'm personally going to be posting as well.
Yeah.
But for the time being, thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate your time this evening. And I've been Snek,
I'm Rhody.
and this was the Rhody and Snek show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll
Yep.
catch you in the next one.
See you guys later. Have a good one.
Have a good one.